Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast is sponsored by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a world-class consulting firm that trains employees in sports psychology secrets that drastically improve work performance. Founder Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army. He played fullback at Army, just like our guest. Just like our guest Darnell Woolfolk here played fullback. Joe Ross played fullback at Army, and he also was an Army assistant coach. So we appreciate Joe Ross sponsoring this podcast, Higher Echelon sponsoring this podcast. We welcome our special guest tonight, Darnell Woolfolk. Darnell, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, Sal, thanks for having me.
Thanks. A little audio issues at the beginning there. I apologize. I made the fullback connection with Joe Ross and yourself, man. Great having you. Just talking to you, I covered your whole career at Army, and just knowing, watching you grow from freshman year to your senior year, and knowing a little bit of your backstory and the success that you had in high school. I mean, all you knew was winning in high school, right? And to be like a part of an Army team, Army program at an era where the tide changed and winning was brought back to West Point must have been something, because I remember when I first covered the team, Darnell, I remember the coaches then telling me, hey, we recruit winners, right? We recruit kids from winning programs, and we expect them to come here and win. Well, it doesn't always transfer that way, but in your time, it did. First off, maybe you could give us a little background on your high school days at Union Endicott, right? You guys were undefeated. They made a ESPN
30 for 30,
right? 30 on 30 on you guys, or they did a 30 on 30 on your run there. And then tell us a little bit about what got you to West Point.
Crazy journey. Honestly, it was obviously amazing being part of a team that went on such a long winning streak that was carried on even after I graduated. It just shows the culture and the coaching staff and the players that came through that program, and how great it was and still is. My brothers are still playing. Well, now my youngest brother is still playing there. But I think it was a great experience and definitely taught me about what winning meant. And that's exactly what Coach Munkin talked about to me and my parents when I came on my visit. So kind of going into me getting recruited, it didn't really exist. The coaches all told me, like the recruiting coaches from whatever school told me I was too small to play linebacker and too slow to play running back. So I was just kind of caught in a hard place, I felt like, because I definitely wanted to play football. It was my passion. The only thing I really, really, truly loved. So kind of going into senior year, I thought I was going to go to Ithaca College, and it's a D3 school. And Coach Luce actually graduated college from there, and he was the one that recruited me to West Point. So originally, I think he was at Lafayette, I want to say.
Yeah, he was, yep.
Yep, and he was telling me, hey, we're looking at you to play running back. I'm going to take my tape back to the head coach. And the head coach said the same thing. Too slow to play running back. So I just had my heart set on going to Ithaca College. And gosh, I want to say maybe 3 months before graduation, I get a call from Coach Luce. He goes, hey, Darnell, I'm at West Point, the United States Military Academy. I don't know if you know this, but we run the triple option, and I think you would be a great fullback for us. And, me being in high school, I didn't really know much about USMA. nothing really at all besides people might get mad at me for saying this, but I used to play NCAA, and I would always choose Army West Point because they were one of the worst teams, and I wanted to make them better. So, kind of funny story, but that's really all I knew about it. And so then me and my parents start looking into West Point, what it's all about. And what I wanted to study in college was criminal justice. And the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I think going into the military might be a bigger and better version of, joining the police force. So I kind of jumped all in. Coach Munkin, like I said, told me he wanted winners and he thought I was one. And that's kind of how that story began of me going to West Point.
I remember you talking to me a little bit about the recruiting story and stuff, which is incredible, right? It's just that John Lewis connection gets you to West Point, and then once you're at West Point, you do take the prep school year, right? And then you're able to learn. I guess you gain a lot of knowledge about what the triple option is all about. That had to be a valuable year for you, right?
Yeah, I think it allowed me to better craft my skills. Really, because I played the triple option in high school. And I played fullback, but it wasn't nearly to the level that even the prep school took it. And I think Coach Nichols, the fullback coach and offensive coordinator there, really took me under his wing and taught me a lot that transferred over to the big team. Just my stance and start was tremendous help from Coach Nichols, because a lot of people would say I had a frog stance in high school. So,
yeah, and then you look at when you get to West Point, we were talking a little bit about your freshman year, and then everything kind of changes your sophomore year, right? Freshman year, you're one of four maybe in the fullback room. There's Aaron Kemper, there's Matt Giacenta, who are returning guys, and then come sophomore year, you're almost the last fullback standing, and then you get some reinforcements, so to speak, in that fullback room, right? And then now I don't know when the War Horses started, when that nickname started for the fullbacks. I guess when Coach Vitti comes along, it kind of grows, right? But man, that fullback room really turns around your sophomore year when you can add guys like Andy Davidson, Kalen Holt to the mix, right? And those are guys that you'll play with for the next 3 years. And that's when you'll see like Army's program just go on the rise. I know it's a team effort. The offense is triple option. It's fullback based, so to speak. And when you can bring guys with the talents that you three had, I mean, I think it was a program changer for you guys. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought that we all had something to bring to the table, and it was different for each and every one of us. And I thought that was kind of the best part. And Coach Vitti knew exactly when to put us in what position, and when to put us in. That also gave us a break so that we were super fresh and we could perform at the highest level that we could. And yeah, a big testament to those guys coming over from defense. I thought they took over and learned the position really well and ran with it. And it's awesome to see that, when you're called to do something to help the team, that they can step up and do that, which is awesome.
No doubt. I mean, Andy Davidson was a fullback in the Lehigh Valley area in Pennsylvania. I mean, a running back. He played running back in his high school days, so he had a little background. I'm sure Kalen Holt did some in Hawaii, but to have guys from New York, Hawaii, Pennsylvania get together and form like this fullback group. And then it seems like it's really carried on, right? Since you left Darnell, you had Connor Slomka, who was with you. Connor Slomka had a good career. And now you have guys like, Jacoby Buchanan, Anthony Atkins, Cade Bonard, Tyson Riley. It's just like now it's like, is it fullback? Is West Point fullback you?
I would 100% say so. I mean, I think although we don't have a ton in the league, I mean, we had Colin Mooney there, who was a great player and made it to the NFL. I think the type of fullback that we produce is great for college, and then it can transfer over. I just think that the NFL is kind of losing the fullback a little more and using tight ends. But I think Army produces the best fullbacks in the nation, in terms of variety, blocking, running, and receiving. I think, you know, our offense and the coaches do a great job with our fullbacks.
Yeah, it's just been really fun to watch the group as it kind of evolved, like you said, from when you got there, even before when you got there. I don't know if you ever seen Larry Dixon play,
Yep.
but I mean, Larry Dixon was something special. I mean, man, I wish I could see Larry Dixon in this type of offense, right? I think he
Yep.
might have had a year with Monken at the first year, maybe,
Hmm.
but man, the athleticism of that Larry Dixon. Darnell, I saw him in practice one day in a drill where it was a one-on-one running drill. Do a leapfrog over a cornerback during a running drill. That was almost standing up straight, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy is something different. And like you say, Colin Mooney, Larry Dick, Mike Vitti,
Yep.
Colin Mooney,
Yep.
Larry Dixon, yourself. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And I just maybe can get your perspective on when you thought you have the fullback, you have the triple option, when you felt like you guys were ready to take the next step. I know there was a 2-10 season there, but then that seemed like I'm sitting in the Army football banquet. That after that 2-10 season, I'm hearing Coach Monken saying we're going to flip this record next year. And I'm thinking, man, they only won 2 games. That means 10 wins. I mean, can
Hmm.
this team? When's the last time Army won 10 games? And back then it was always 1996 was the reference, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and then you might not have won 10, but you won 8 the next year. And that was certainly a turning point in their program. When did you see kind of things shift and go moving to the positive direction, would you say?
Um, I mean, to be honest, from my perspective, obviously I didn't play a lot freshman year. I traveled, and got in here and there. Um, but if you really think about it, we were in almost every game my freshman year. And the more Coach Monken talked about it, you could really see we were just 1 or 2 plays away from flipping the script. And I think the big turning point is that everybody that was in that room knew that we were that close and believed that we could do it. And that's part of the culture. Um, we're going to work hard day in and day out to get the results that we wanted. And I think Coach Monken, all the coaches, even our trainers, kind of preach this, and we kind of just talked it into existence because we really did believe that we were going to turn this thing around. And I think that although it's just words, it held a very heavy weight on everybody. So I think really what it came down to was, starting from the top, Coach Monken believed that we were going to turn it around and told us that we were every day in and day out. He would get mad that we lost a close game, but he would turn around and say, we're this close. We just have to execute here or there, 1 or 2 more plays, and the game would be completely different.
Yeah, and what followed was 3 of the best seasons in Army football history. If you're looking at win totals, 29 wins across the next 3 years, which is, I mean, 8, 10, and 11. And
Yep.
man, I mean, I guess there's a lot of memories for you in those 3 years, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when we ask people, hey, what's your favorite Army football memory? Well, hey, let's get a notebook out, right? And let's get
Yeah.
on our phones and list 15, 20 possibly games or moments. Does anything stand out for you personally maybe just a personal memory for you of those 3 years?
So personally, God, I don't really like to bring it up, but it's always in my mind when I think about football was um, that sophomore year, playing in the Army Navy game. We're walking out to the field, and we're in the tunnel. You hear the crowd, and we're all just kind of silent. And somebody, I'm not exactly sure who started it, but said, let's do this one for B Jack. And then we just started singing one of B Jack's favorite songs in the locker room. And wow, I don't remember any moment that felt better and more heartfelt and emotional and, something that we were really fighting for. Um, and what did it lead to? It led to the first Army win over Navy, and I think it was what, 16
Yeah, it was
years,
14 years that
14
Navy
years.
had won
Yeah,
in a row. 14 years Navy won in a row, and
yeah,
man, I mean, covering the team back then and just knowing what Brandon Jackson meant to the team, right? And he was a sophomore, and what he meant, he was on the field as a starter,
yeah,
early in his career, and just always I always remember seeing Brandon with a smile on his face. The football field is what playing football is what made him happy, and it's what he was able to pass along that love for the game to people. It seemed like Darnell,
yeah,
and man, you don't get really more inspirational than that, right? I mean, and I know you guys had that was a very tough moment for you guys to get through, but you got through it together, right?
yep,
And that's what I think you can talk about all the locker room speeches in the world, right? You can talk about all the Coach Monken pointing out things, but when you get together for one cause, right, and you have that inspiration back in you, I mean, man, that's very hard to. You guys were very hard to stop once
yeah,
that happened.
yep,
And I just look at the way you look at turning points in the program and just the remembering of him, right? Every time before a game at Army, kneeling at the 28-yard line for you guys. You just never forgot
yep.
him. And I don't know what people believe in, but it seemed like there was somebody watching over you guys during your time. Is that something that you can see or relate to?
Yeah, no, I 100% felt that way. Obviously, I went to prep school with B Jack, um, and you're right. He was always joking around, laughing all the time. Even on the field, we got very competitive. But guess what? Whoever won or lost, he was still smiling, jawing at the other person. Very competitive person, awesome dude. And kind of a funny thing. Yeah, I always felt like he was kind of watching over us. And a lot of the times when I was praying for him and his mother um, at the 28-yard line, especially senior year, there was a lot of times I was getting yelled at to be at the coin toss that I was late to it. But it was just like nothing could take me out of that moment. Yeah, it was something powerful that definitely um, took over our team. And like you said, was something that we all came together to fight for because it was worth it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And there's so many like going back to that 2016 game, just the effort that that you guys put forth in that game and just the result that you guys were able to get and to be on that
Mhm.
field when cadets are jumping out of the stands, where parents are jumping out of the stands, where Army football fans are jumping out of the stands, and it doesn't matter what I was doing. I was just dodging just to try to stay on my feet, during that. But can you remember what that was like? That feeling when the final whistle blew. I mean, I was on the sideline, far away from the ball, but just knowing,
Mhm.
I think a knee was taken, and just knowing that this streak was over, and you guys were on your way to being the Service Academy team now to beat. So
Yeah. Um, Honestly, in that very first moment when the whistle blew, I didn't realize how much the game of football was more than just a game of football. Um, there were so many people on the field in tears, old grads or just enlisted, retired Army people, just crying and telling us how much this game meant to them and for us to finally beat Navy. It didn't really sink in until that moment when I had an old grad crying in front of me on the field, thanking us for winning that game. And I'm like, wow, like football isn't just football, it brings people together. And it's more than just a game. And I feel like even though it is a game, it teaches you so much that is applicable in life, whether it's the military or business. I have learned so much from football, so I will never take it for granted for the opportunities that I had to play this wonderful game.
Yeah, and when they start talking about the best rivalry in college football, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, after hearing that and seeing like when you have the old grads come on and like tearing up in front of you, I mean, I don't there's no compare. I didn't think there was a
Mm-hmm.
comparison to begin with, but I don't think there's any comparison at all that Army Navy is the top college football rivalry just because of
Yep.
what it means to so many people and how deep it means
Yeah.
too. It's
Yep.
not just a former Michigan player or former Michigan grad happy that they beat Ohio State or whatever. This goes way deeper than that. This goes to people who left as former football players, served overseas, defending our country, and
Yep.
watching you guys overseas during these games, right? I mean,
Yep.
I'm sure as a player, you probably received emails from people, hey, best of luck against Navy, go Army, beat Navy, emails
Yep.
constantly, or just tweets or whatever on social media. It's just different. And to see that you guys were able to do it not just once, right?
Yep.
You were
Yep.
able to do it the rest of your career after that. You were able to beat Navy, and the things that you guys were able to accomplish are just amazing. And you look at this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
This week Army's playing Wisconsin, and this is that big game that's not Air Force or Navy that's circled on Army schedule. Yeah,
Yep.
Wisconsin was ranked at the beginning of the season. They faced three ranked teams and they took 3 losses, but those are really good teams that they played. And
Yep.
now that you were in the position where you were playing programs like Oklahoma, right? You were in the positions where you were playing teams like Ohio State at these venues that have so much history. Mikey Stadium has so much history, and when you're playing at Camp Randall, the history of players that were there. Oklahoma, right? When you're on the same field as guys like Kyler Murray, and I mean, how many NFL players were on that Oklahoma team? I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And then you guys are there in the end, right? And you're battling with, and it's like, I think I was asked today about, Army and, do these current players, some who were dressed for those games, right,
Yep.
against Oklahoma, if that gives them any confidence? And I think my answer was, I think right now the program's at Darnell where Army feels that they could play with just about anybody in the country. It doesn't matter where the game's at. Like you hear Coach Munkin, it's a little cliche that he'll play games in the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, now it's not a matter of, can they play with? It's a matter of now getting a little bit that over the hump, so to speak. This program has shown that you could play deep into games, and now it's time to get one of those wins at a Power Five away at a Power Five stadium and sing the alma mater, the Army alma mater after a win there, right? I don't know what your thoughts are, but I want to ask you just maybe how you felt when you were going into a venue like Oklahoma and just, I mean, what impressed me the most about that game? That game went into overtime, right?
Yep.
Every single player on your team must have gave everything they had in that game. And at the end, it didn't go your way. But the
Yep.
response and the respect that you guys earned from the Oklahoma fans was incredible, right? They gave you a standing ovation when you left the field.
Yep.
And I mean, that is to I not ever played a down in my life of college football, but that must have been some validation there to get the respect that you guys 100% earned.
Yeah. I mean, I think um, when we first stepped onto that field, the crowd was ridiculous. Like it felt like they were on the field with us. Um, and coming into the fourth quarter, they were silent. And that was probably one of the greatest feelings ever. That was wild to feel and to hear. Um, and honestly, I think it was probably, you could ask other players that were there. It was heartbreaking that we were that close to upsetting a top 25. Actually, I think they were a top 5 team at that
Yeah,
time.
they were up there. Yeah.
Um, and we were that close. But at the end of the day, um, we were proud of the way that we performed. We handled ourselves like professionals. A lot of people, did gain a lot of respect for us after that, and thought that we could compete at a high level. Although sometimes our schedule didn't show it, when we did play those big teams, we kept it close. I mean, I think Penn State my freshman year, we only
Yeah.
lost by a field goal or 7 points.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was maybe a touchdown and then a 2-point conversion. Maybe it was an
Yeah.
8-point game, but that game was played in rainy conditions. That
Yep.
game was played where the ball was slipping and sliding all over the place. I think there were a bunch of fumbles in the first half, yet you
Yep.
guys were still driving to potentially tie the game in the fourth quarter
Yep.
in that environment. And you look at, that's a good point on that Penn State game. I mean, that this team's been there,
Yep.
this program's been there, right? These
Yep.
players, like you were probably on the sideline for that Penn State game. There's
Yep.
been players that have been just chomping at the bit to say, hey, we can play. We can. I found it almost comical at the beginning of the year, Darnell. I went on a podcast spot, and they called Army when Army beat Georgia State in the opener
Mm-hmm.
an upset.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is a team minus the 2019 season that has won 8 games or more for the last 5 years. This is a winning program.
Yep.
And going to Georgia State because maybe they lost 2 years ago at Georgia State makes it an upset. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I still think that there's a little bit of respect that can be earned in a game like Saturday, right? I
Yeah.
think that hey, it's going to be on the Big Ten Network. I hope for all Army fans watching this podcast, 6:10 I believe on DirecTV. So get there 8 o'clock on Saturday night, and hopefully it's another moment, and this time it's a moment to earn some respect and a victory. I don't know how. I know you're probably going to be glued to the TV on Saturday night.
100%. And I think this Army football team right now has more than enough talent to pull it off. One thing to add, I think a lot of the times going into these big games, the opponents kind of underestimate us, and it bites them in the butt early, and then they're clawing and fighting. So, I mean, I hope Wisconsin's ready because we sure will be.
That's a good point because I remember, you get off to a good start against Oklahoma, and I remember Elijah Riley causing that forced fumble at Michigan
Yep.
and kind of turning the tides.
Mm-hmm.
I really think, like I was talking today about it, Army wins the coin toss. You know what's going to happen? They're going on defense.
Yeah.
And they're going to, and if this defense can make a play early, almost like in the Ball State game when Ball State had that big kickoff to set the tone, if this tone is set early by the defense and the offense can back it up with a touchdown, you're ahead of the game at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we know this Wisconsin defense is really good. They're
Mm-hmm.
they only allow 40 rushing yards a game. They haven't played a scheme like Army's, and if
No.
Army can find a way to, if the offense, it's going to be one in the trenches. Simply as that. The offensive line, if they can get a little push to create room for the fullbacks, it's going to be an interesting night. It really is going to be an interesting night because I think the defense is good enough to keep Army in the game, no doubt. Yeah, it's just like those games. I mean, just being able to, like you say, playing those games, and now it's time to, it's time for the team. This is a time for a respect earner, no doubt, and it's a time Army football is on the map. It's time to
Yep.
raise Army's level there, and then next week it's Wake Forest coming to town, a ranked Wake Forest team.
Another good team.
I can't remember back-to-back games that Army's played like this. Yeah, you guys never played back-to-back games like this against
No,
two Power 5 teams in back-to-back weeks. I mean,
no, we didn't.
no, so this is going to be a great challenge. And if the team can come through, imagine if they get 2 W's. I mean, then we're looking at probably a ranked team heading into the Air Force game after a bye weekend.
Which
Man,
would be awesome.
then it's on. Then it's on. That game's being played in Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, and they're not playing any altitude up in Air Force, right? So.
Yeah, no, I was actually kind of upset.
Oh.
Me and my wife were talking about going to the game this year, and actually one of the captains that is stationed here with me was like, "Did you know that the Air Force game isn't in Colorado this year?" And I was like, "What?" That was pretty upsetting because I was ready to go to that game, but I'll still be rooting on, cheering on, ready for the Army team to come away with a W.
Yeah, before we go, let's this is a couple more questions for a couple more topics to talk to you about. You were never one for stats, right? You could really, but man, you had 37 touchdowns in your career at Army, and you rushed for over 2,300 yards. Let's put some respect on your name before we continue this podcast, right? I mean, let's put some I know you were never a stat guy. You could care less, but
no, I didn't even know that, Sal.
you didn't even. And I mean, you're top 10 in rushing, and I think tied for 5th in career touchdowns, and not written anywhere down in the Woolfolk household, right?
No. Mm-mm.
I mean, and that's what makes that's what makes this Army team so great when it's really going good, right? Is everybody could care less about their stats. Andre Carter's leading the nation in sacks right now, 7.5 sacks.
Yep.
I mean, he's talking about doing his 111th, so to speak. I mean, that's the thing. You do your 111th on defense, and everything will happen.
Yep.
So, we put some respect on your name. Now, after your Army career is over, you go and coach at the prep school, and at the prep school, you have a talented slot back by the name of Tyrell Robinson that you're coaching.
Yep.
So, give us a little bit of what you saw in Tyrell then, and what you're seeing in Tyrell now.
Honestly, from the start, I was like, he's shorter than me, kind of thicker, and one of the first days in the weight room, this is where I was blown away. This man is stronger than an ox for how small he is. Tight, compact, and strong. And then we get into games, and this man is so explosive. He wasn't hard to teach, listened to everything that we had to tell him, and executed. And obviously it transferred over. He's doing the same thing, just on a higher level now, even last year as a freshman, which is awesome to see. I think he's got a great head on his shoulders, very respectful, very, very hard worker. He wants to be better every day, which you love to see, not only in a player, but in a person. I have so much respect for that kid. And I think he's going to continue to do great things. He's just so explosive, quick, good situational awareness. He sees more than just what's right in front of him, and he has good hands as well. I can't talk enough about Tyrell. He's a phenomenal player, and I'm excited to continue to see him grow.
Last year, when you saw him put that one move on that was out of a Madden game, and you're like, I mean, this is just something different. And then to see his acceleration, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's been an explosive player or a guy with the speed of Tyrell Robinson and forever at West Point. I know there's been some quick guys, but
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody as good as him. And like you say, that he's running some plays up the middle
Yeah.
up the middle, and he did break a big one open earlier in the season. I think it was against UConn. I might be wrong on that, but he did have that big run right up
Yeah.
the gut, and I mean nobody was catching him. I mean
Yeah.
nobody was.
That's one thing that we noticed at the prep school was like he could squeeze into tight spaces, and then next thing you know, he's past the secondary already. Very quick, can bend and move his body in tight spaces, which is great for a fullback, but it's even more impressive seeing it from him in between the tackles. It's awesome to see.
And if we're like real quick, if we're talking about Saturday night, Camp Randall against Wisconsin,
Mhm.
get him the football.
I say that every day on my TV that I'm watching Army football. I cannot get enough of Tyrell Robinson.
Get him the football. I mean, in the passing game, if they're going to load up 9, look for 21.
Yep.
Look for 21. If you want to do a play action, look for 21.
Yeah.
Look for 86, Isaiah Austin. I mean,
Yep.
there are going to be the opportunities there, no doubt. And we know how talented Wisconsin is, but there is, I mean,
We have a lot of talent too on both sides of the ball. So
right. I look at Tyrell and Isaiah, and in their positions, right, for their skill level, I don't know if Army's had guys with their skill level and their ability to change games at those positions in a while. I mean, Isaiah has a lot of talent, and it's just a matter of getting him involved. In, I know it's 5 or 6 passes a game or whatever it is, but he definitely can. He's caught a touchdown pass this year. He could break it off. The last one I want to end this on, Darnell, getting a little update about what you're doing now. Now you're still in the Army. You're serving out in Colorado, and you're also doing some trying to get some training started on the side. So give us a little update on what you're up to.
Yeah. So after I finished Bullock, FA Bullock, so field artillery is my branch. I came out to Fort Carson, Colorado, and my very first job was a fire direction officer. And shortly after that, I would want to say maybe not even a month, one of the PLs in my battery ended up going to Ranger School and was stuck there for 6 months, I want to say. So I ended up taking the role as FDO and PL at the same time for, I want to say, about 5 months total, doing both, dual hatting. And it was a lot. It was a lot, but I learned a lot. And I think, some of the soldiers have learned a lot from me. And then, yeah, so now I'm actually about to go back to Fort Sill, Oklahoma soon. And it's funny that we talked about these guys, but I'm going to the same unit as Larry Dixon, AJ Sure, Jordan Smith, and a few other guys. So it'll be good to see them again. It'll actually be awesome to reconnect. We text and talk still, but it'll be nice to see each other face to face. And yeah, I kind of fell into a hard place after things didn't really work out with the New York Giants. And I mean, after football, I got down to close to 210 pounds. Working out all the time, and after nothing really happened with the New York Giants, I was like, well, what do I have to work out for anymore? Like the Army, yeah, I can pass a PT test. I'm not too worried about that. But, the more I thought about it, I started to gain weight. I got up to I want to say 235 pounds about. So back to playing weight. And I just didn't feel good. Obviously, I have a wife and a little girl now, and I just thought to myself, what what happens if I stay on the path that I'm on, and I I won't be able to do the things that I want to with my child if I don't, get in shape. And one thing that I think the Army really, really taught me is, you have to be able to do what's best for not only yourself but other people. I really liked and loved to be around my soldiers and help them achieve whatever goals they wanted, and to set them up in the best position to achieve those goals. And I really thought about it, what could give me that same passion and fulfillment outside of the Army one day when I'm not in it. And I thought, personal training would be that. So on that day when this thought just came into my head, I was like, Sarah, that's my wife. I was like, I'm gonna do personal training. And that day, I I got this. I signed up for the course, and pushed through it. I'm about to get my CPT, nutritionist, and strength and conditioning coach certifications here in the next week, is when I'll take my exams. So, I think my wife, always pushing me to be the best person I can be. My daughter and the Army, have pushed me to better myself and better those around me. So yeah, and then so I have a website for, the strength and conditioning and personal trainer stuff. It's wolfstrengthandnutrition.com, spelt like my last name, WOOLF. I also have like fitness apparel, and more to come. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm really excited about it. But at the same time, I'm still grinding in the Army, and there's still a lot to unfold there. So I'm also excited for that move to Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Sure. I was going to ask you, maybe 5, 10 years down the road, do you see yourself maybe doing this, training definitely, but do you see yourself getting maybe back into football as a strength and conditioning coach, so to speak, or?
Yeah, so what I really want to try and achieve is, higher end coaching for athletes. So people training to go professional in any sport, really. But if that doesn't work out, because I do want to have a gym of my own, but if that doesn't work out, part of the reason why I got the strength and conditioning, certification was, to coach at the college level. I think that would be a great avenue for me, just because I love to be in that environment. I think Terry Baggett said it on one of the podcasts with you. There is no environment that will equate to being in a football locker room. It is something different, and no matter how hard we try to recreate it within our own teams in the Army or in business, it's very hard to recreate. So I definitely have to agree with Terry on that one. But yeah, no, I definitely think strength and conditioning coach at the college level would be definitely one on my bucket list.
Nice, nice. And we didn't even get into those locker room celebrations after big wins, right? We could have another podcast for that, Darnell. We won't get
Yeah.
into it tonight, but some of those were just to have a guy with coach with the energy of Jeff Monken, like you talked about, the belief of the players behind the mission of the team, right?
Yep.
After big wins, man, it doesn't. The Coastal. You got to watch Coastal Carolina celebrations once they win. Have you seen them online?
I actually haven't seen them. No.
You got to catch them. They're a little bit professional wrestling related a little bit half the time. But I mean, they're doing elbows and power bombs and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it's fun, right? And that's what college football should be about,
Yep.
having fun. And when you're winning, man, it's a lot of fun, right? And
Yep.
you guys did a lot of winning at West Point when you were there. We really appreciate you having you on tonight. We'll post in the info box below. We'll post your website and where people can find your training videos and training apparel. We'll post that. We really appreciate you hopping on tonight, and thanks so much. And we wish you all the best in the Army and your future with the weightlifting also.
Thanks, Sal. I really appreciate it. And, nothing left to say but go Army, beat Navy.